Oh, man.
So, no pressure, everyone. Hi, we're back. We're back with series 2 of the Pure Talks. And we've moved from Wednesdays to Tuesdays. I'm sorry about that. But now that we're not in lockdown, I do have a job on Wednesday that I have to go to. And normally I would be going to Eastbourne College on a Wednesday, but it is half term. So I'm not there this week or next week because fractured my wrist. So can't drive. So that's rather inconvenient. So my guest today is Les Williams. Now, can you all tell me, can you see Les? Because at the moment, oh, there he is. He's just appeared on my screen. Yay! Because for a while in the green room, I couldn't see Les at all. He was just yellow. He looked like he got some deathly kind of disease.
I was at the champagne already.
You'd already been on the champagne celebrating the end of this talk. So yeah, it is. I'm really pleased to say that my guest today is Les, and we can now see him with his lovely bookcase behind him. We think it was probably bandwidth, and because everyone's still working from home, aren't they? And they're all using up the bandwidth at lunchtime, going on their social media and checking their Instagram posts and everything. All gets very clogged up over lunchtime. So, hello, Les. Les is an artist, for those of you who don't know, but he's also the esteemed president of the Society of Graphic Fine Art.
With some lovely members.
With some lovely members and some lovely council members. And some of your council members, I think, are live in the audience today on Crowdcast. So hopefully they'll have some questions. You all know how this works. So ask a question is a box at the bottom of the screen. For those of you watching live on Crowdcast, for those of you watching on the live stream on Facebook, obviously you can put your questions in the question area there, and hopefully Sophie will spot them and pop them over here for me. And if you're watching this on catch up or listening to us on a podcast, welcome. Hello. We're glad to have you. Look, we're diversifying. We're even doing podcasts now. And you can contact us at www.pureartsgroup.co.uk. And the SGFA website is a click button at the bottom of the screen here. But if you are, as I say, not watching us live, it is simply sgfa.org.uk. So there you are. There's all your touch points if you need to get in contact with us afterwards, or you're watching on catch up and you have questions. And we answer our questions in Facebook pretty quickly. So if you've got comments on there, you know, Sophie or myself will answer you, and Instagram the same. So yeah, you just get in touch. If you think we're your tribe, or you think the SGFA might be your tribe, then I'm sure I speak for Les. We'd be happy to have you, wouldn't we, Les?
We would.
We would. So, Les, we're going to chat today a bit about you, a bit about your career as an artist, and then we'll move on to how you got involved with the SGFA. So just for those of you watching on live and Crowdcast, I'm just going to quickly share the screen with Lesley's website, so you can see what his artwork looks like, because I think that's always helpful, isn't it? There we go. So that is Les. There's your artwork. It's very you've got a lot of white space in it, haven't you? And with a bit of colour.
Never fill the page out. That's my motto.
Yeah. If I just click on one, St George's, Hanover Square, there you are. People can see that a bit more in detail. So a lot of inspiration from London and also from Norfolk. Let's have a look and see if we can find one. We go back to the gallery and let's see if we can find one that's more. Oh, there we are. See, I'm not familiar with Norfolk, but I'm thinking that is Norfolk. Am I right?
Lancaster Stave, yeah.
Yeah.
Boats, fishing huts.
And what makes you choose that? You know, you've picked quite a striking, just one single colour in the background of there.
I think one of the things I was going to say that I've always found that my watercolour isn't very strong. I don't like subtlety, as you can tell. So I like buildings. I like strong lines, which is, I think, what you can see from what I'm doing there. Nearly all black and white. But I mean, my main medium is pen, dip pen with Indian ink mainly. A little bit of watercolour wash over the top.
And what inspires the choice of colour then?
Pretty random, to be honest with you, but it depends what mood I'm in. is the honest answer. I had an interesting time. I joined a society up in Suffolk where they were looking at the fields. A guy who practiced in the 1930s. He just worked in the fields, and it was quite difficult for me to actually get into their mode of thinking, of just sitting in fields, looking at people working there, looking at the horses. And as you can see, I'm an urban artist, and I found it extremely difficult to try and paint what they were doing. But eventually, I sort of still keeping it pretty minimal, lots of just loose blue skies and just a few marks made on the paper. That tends to be the way I go.
If we go back to the gallery, we'll probably see. Yeah, so it seems to be one colour. You kind of pick up on one colour, don't you? Like in that one there, that's Petworth House. With, as you say, a very strong line.
Yeah.
So going back to where it all began, Les, have you been painting and drawing all your life, or is this something that you've come to later in life?
Well, I thought I was going to be a golfer. But coming towards the end of my time in the city, my mother had died, and she'd been an oil painter. And clearing her stuff out, I decided that I would go to the place where she used to paint. She used to go down to Flatford Mill, which is Constable country up in Suffolk. And they have a field study centre there, and stay at Willie Lott's cottage, which, if you know your Constable, is the Haywain. Not recommended, I can tell you, if you don't want to hear toilets going all night long and creaky stairs. But it was how I started in the art world, learning how to paint and laying down watercolour washes. Very soon I found that even though I wanted to be like Edward Seago and, have £100,000 artists, paintings, it didn't really work out like that for me. But I loved the drawing. And what happened for me was that I found the Prince's Drawing School in Charlotte Street up in London. And I went on a drawing course with Jeanette Barnes and Martin Shortis there. And it was interior design, or the interior of St Paul's Cathedral. And the first thing that Martin did when he looked at my travel bag that I brought along was he picked up the rubber and threw it away, picked up my ruler and went, "You don't need that, mate." And then produced this drawing that he'd done of the interior, three-dimensional, of the dome of St Paul's, over 20 foot by 20 foot. It's just like Michelangelo painted. And I said, "How did you do that without a rubber?" He said, "You just carry on. Anything that happens that shouldn't have happened, you just work through it. And, lots of accidental things become the good things." And
lots of artists talk about that, don't they? The happy accidents.
Well, especially if you've got a dip pen and ink that won't move around, or it will move around, but sometimes in blobs on paintings, which makes life very interesting. So
you were doing that, and then you added the watercolor. You started to build up and add the watercolor.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll do that. I mean, one of the things that I learned, I suppose, is that I used to draw in with this Staedtler ordinary pens, biros and things like that. And when I went down to the framer, she'd taken some of my paintings and she put them up in her art gallery. And she said, "Look, Les, look at these your framework 3 months after it's been in the window, it's gone. And I, wow, so all your lovely drawing has all gone out the window now. So why don't you try and paint with something or draw with something that's indelible so it stays with it? It's either or you use conservation glass, to protect the image. It's a problem for all watercolorists, really, that if you don't display your artwork well, or you don't keep it out of the sunshine, I should say, you're going to lose it eventually.
That's tricky, isn't it? Because that conservation glass is really expensive. And when you're just starting out, that's an really big expense.
Of course it is. Yeah, absolutely. Which is why I try to say to people, try to use indelible ink if you can, but you can't use fountain pens with indelible ink. It chews them up. So it's either conservation glass if you're an experienced artist and you can get the money for it. But as you say, for some amateurs, it's never going to work. It's back to pencil, I suppose. But
And you said you went to the Prince's Drawing School. What was that like? What was it like learning at the Prince's Drawing School?
Fantastic is what I would say. And I think that, I don't know if you know much about the background of the Prince's Drawing School, which is now the Royal Drawing School, but they allow 1 free year of drawing for anyone who's got an art degree. Now, having talked to one of the tutors there, he said to me, we have people come who've got art degrees, and I said, we're going to go out sketching along the river. And they all said, well, what do you do? He said, well, you call it, you get what I would call a pencil, and you get paper. And they went, oh, right. So he said, the first time I took them out, I had to give them the pencils and the paper because they'd never used them before. So it's amazing what people come out of the art college with, how little knowledge some of them have. But for me, it was fantastic because you're actually dealing with people who are in the professional art world, and I'd only really just picked it up. So it was quite an eye-opener as to what to do, what not to do.
Yeah, it gave you a foundation in how to take it forward.
Yeah, I mean, it showed me where I wanted to be. I didn't want to be a watercolorist trying to be like John Yardley or Edward Seago or any of those modern painters. I just wasn't going to work for me. But I needed something with structure in, a bit like our lovely Vincent, with his drawing. I love pictures that are representational in the main. But I like to keep colour down to a minimum. I mean, black and red is my two favourite colours, which is why lots of red buses and red post boxes in my
I was just about to say, it's handy in London with red buses. There'll always be one going past.
Yeah. But the curious thing is, because I limit my vocation with what I do, I was hanging an exhibition in a solicitor's office. And there was someone came on the phone for me, and I thought it was one of these scam phone calls you get sometimes. And they said, we're from the City of London Police Fraud Squad. And I'm sort of, first of all, I'm sort of saying to myself, I don't believe this. This is a scam. They went, no, we've just looked you up on your website. Are you coming up to town at all? I said, well, I'm actually in the solicitor's office in Leadenhall Street at the moment. Well, we'd like to buy one of your paintings for one of our colleagues who's retiring.
Oh.
Eventually, it did drop that they were real because, these two police sergeants turned up. And I thought, God, I had a moment, though. But,
did you ask them, I need to know your date of birth? I need to know your mother's maiden name.
I should have done.
You're sure you don't live in Nigeria?
No.
You don't need me to transfer lots of money.
They produce cash, Lesley, which is the most...
Always a relief. Although worrying.
Always a relief, yeah.
Worrying when it's the police. Oh, how lovely, though.
But it's one of those lovely things that this has gone on for about 10 years now. And this year I've done 2 for someone who was like second in command of the UK computer fraud. So she was a commander, and it's just lovely, you know, but they're very simple drawings. But I think these police guys find that they've run out of buying watches and clocks for people for their retirements. So that's my new role in life.
Isn't that wonderful? You've got from that one like potential, like, oh, is this a scam? It's given you 10 years of work.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And as you say, that gives them something new to give to people instead of the classic carriage clock or watch. That's probably got a lot more meaning for them because it's about, you know, the place where they work.
Well, it's always the city, and it always has to have a red bus in it and some Paul's Cathedral or something like that. Yeah.
I know. Vincent has just started putting colour into his work as well, and red seems to be featuring heavily in chimney pots. I don't know if you've seen any.
Has anyone told him that chimney pots aren't red?
Don't say that. Don't. He'll tell me they're not red now. He'll tell me that there is this proper colour because obviously he knows all about these things. So he'll tell me they're not red. They are a legitimate colour. So did you have any particular tutors that inspired you at the drawing school?
There was one particular lady who I loved, Jeanette Barnes. And with naivety comes that lovely asking of questions that I said to her, how do you do these things, Jeanette? Because I'd met her before the Royal Drawing School. I met her standing at Lloyd's of London when they were just building the Gherkin, and she was standing on the steps looking at St Mary Axe with the Gherkin rising above it. And she loved drawing in charcoal, and she had a page which was something like 4 foot by 6 foot. I mean, I wasn't really interested in drawing at the time, but I just looked at the way she was making her marks on the paper. And it was fantastic. It was so much vibrancy in it, and the drawing was just huge. And I said to her, oh, this is fantastic. Are you going to do anything with these? I didn't know who she was. And she said, probably, yeah. I said, well, where do you show? She said, well, I'm going to be in the Royal Academy Summer Exhibition this year. I went, oh, okay. Funny enough, actually, I went out to the Royal Academy show that year, and she'd done this huge piece of Grand Central Station, huge with great light coming in the building, huge space and charcoal everywhere. She sold it for £10,000. So I bow to her superior talent, skill.
But she was one of your tutors. How amazing is that?
Yeah, but absolutely no. What's the word I'm looking for? She was approachable. You could talk to her, ask her anything, and you know, why are you doing that? Well, I do remember asking John Yardley once, how do you do perspective, John? And he just went, you do it. And I thought that was about as helpful as nothing. But whereas Jeanette was just easygoing and, you know, what do you want to know?
It's lovely when people are, once they've reached their groove and they are comfortable and confident in that, you know, trust themselves, they can be humble and gracious, which is obviously how she was towards you. And then they share, and that's the most, I know for myself now, you know, at my aged age, that I love sharing, you know, all those things that I've learned. I would never dream of like closing someone down because, you know, if you can help people along the way, that's, you know, so rewarding, isn't it?
Well, I think one of the things that I found helpful is I run open studios up in Norfolk where we've got a house. And quite often the people who ask you the most interesting questions are the ones who are 15, 16, 17 doing their O-levels, A-levels. And I had one girl come along with her mother last year, and they must have stood there for half an hour asking me, you know, how and why do you do, why do you draw with a dip pen? Why do you draw with Indian ink? What paper do you use? And I said, you know, what is it you like yourself? She said, well, my A-level tutor won't let me draw what I want to draw. You know, she's always telling me to structure it for the exams, which I can understand. But when you've got an artist that really is not expressing themselves, it's so frustrating, I think, you know. Obviously, there's going to come a time when she'll be able to do that. But it was lovely, absolutely lovely talking to her. And I mean, 2 or 3 times over a number of years, I've had people come back, especially the kids with their parents, asking me questions again, where have they got to, what are they doing?
It is nice to see that, isn't it? When you do something, how long have you been doing the open studios?
Over 10 years up there now, I think.
Yeah, so you've got longevity, so you can see the people coming back year on year. And
yeah, no, it's lovely. I mean, the only trouble with COVID this year, we used to hold it in May, but this year they've suddenly decided they want to switch it next year to October, which, frankly, in the middle of winter, I really don't want people traipsing around my house, with muddy boots and things, Anyway, they think it's the great way forward with Christmas markets and things like that. So.
Yeah. I think everyone's trying to innovate, aren't they? I mean, we did Art 360, as you know, which was digital kind of open studios. And the most amazing thing was all the questions. It was all the sharing between the artists and the collectors, and then of knowledge and experience, and the questions that people were asking. It was incredible. I learned things that, I'd known a lot of the artists for a long time, but I learned so much. And I think that open studios format is so invaluable. So invaluable.
No, I totally agree. I mean, where I am up in Norfolk, we're so lucky. It's a tourist village, if you like, in that there's a ruined Norman Castle, and a ruined priory there. So lots of people come through it. I mean, on open weekends, probably getting 150 people through every weekend, which by the time we shut the doors at 5 o'clock, I'm absolutely exhausted.
Are you a beer or a G&T man? Or wine?
Unfortunately, all three.
Sadly, me.
Not at the same time.
No, I don't do beer, actually. But wine or G&T. I know I felt that after that marathon of like one a day during September, when we did the closing show and we had champagne, I think it went to my head within about 20 seconds. I was so shattered with the experience, but it's so rewarding. I really hope that we're definitely doing Art 360 again. The digital open studios will be opening submissions on the 14th of November for the next one, which will be in April. But I really hope that there will be live open studios, because they are a critical element of the artist's experience, not only from, as you say, the youngsters coming in and asking questions and people being able to get close to the art, but it's also a critical element in people on their journey of going through the art world, getting comfortable with talking about their art, isn't it?
Well, I was just going to say that Vincent will know we're in that critical process at the moment of doing selection for the new SGFA members. And obviously with COVID, we haven't been able to invite people up to London for what we normally do, which is bring your finished work, but we're more interested in seeing how you get to where you've got to, i.e. your sketchbooks, your background drawings. So it's had to be online this year. And to be honest with you, it doesn't do some people any favors, because there are people when you look at their artwork and you feel that what they've done on the paper, it comes alive to you. Whereas on digitally, I don't think it always speaks to you the same way. And there are a number of people who've applied this year. I think we're going to have to ask them to come back next year, so we actually see their physical work, because you can't really judge what they're up to. It's been a real problem for us.
Yeah, it's a really different medium, digital. And, that's the point of Art 360, was to help artists become more comfortable with working in the digital format. And but it's so hard to see. And I know when we've done selections over the years and we've sat in a room and tried to do it digitally, sometimes when the physical work, we always added the caveat, we still reserve the right to refuse when we see the physical work. It goes both ways. Some can look better and some can look worse. And that's, it's the ones that haven't done the professional photographs and haven't done the scans, professional level, that, Yeah, it's sad. You always feel you've missed something amazing.
Well, I think Vincent's just made a very good point on here, which is that you don't get the scale of the work.
Exactly.
Because the SGFA got their show in the mall next year. What we actually need sometimes are very big pieces, and you cannot tell from a digital. Yes, someone can tell you that the thing, what it is in centimeters, an inch or inches, but you don't get the scale of the thing, because if you want a big piece of work for the end wall to make an impact on the show, you really can't judge it from a digital. I don't think you can anyway. And you're absolutely right too about the colours. I was saying to someone recently that I went up to Tate Britain a few years ago and was amazed at the show I just seen and wanted to buy the catalogue, the illustrated catalogue. When I got it, I thought, I've just seen all these works and these photographs are absolutely nothing like the work I've just seen. The colours are not being reproduced at all.
And that's because they're relying on the artist to send in the images. And as Flick says quite rightly, a lot of artists don't appreciate that photographing or scanning your artwork is a critical element of your practice, and you need to be able to do it well. And if you can't, then employ someone to do it professionally for you, because we do a lot of digital and printed catalogues, and we spent a lot of time, working on making sure the images are of the best possible quality to make sure that the viewer gets the best experience when they're looking, like you say, when they're looking at the catalogue, because that's their memory of it. And that's like it's a touch point. So it's the point where, a year later they'll say, that's still bothering me and I want to go back and buy it. And then when they look in the catalogue and they go, oh, it doesn't look how I remember it. And then they might just not buy it. So you've lost a potential sale.
But Lesley, going back to a point you were making about conservation glass being expensive, doing digital right is just as expensive. Getting your artwork printed is just as expensive. So I don't know what that flip over thing is where you're making enough money from your artwork to actually do that. It's a tough move from going from being an amateur to being someone who wants to make it at the top level.
You're absolutely right. I mean, the cost of being a professional artist can't be underestimated. It is an expensive business. And I often say this to locations when they contact me and they say, oh, could you supply some art, for our office or whatever? And I say, well, how much are you going to pay for that? And they were like, oh, we just thought it would give the artist an opportunity. And I'm like, no. Do you realize that if I put one piece of work in your office, that's probably cost the artist, a reasonable size piece, could have cost them £300 or £400 in just materials, and then you'll want it in your office for 3 or 4 months where it's not working for them. If someone asked to get you to give one of your products for absolutely not what, give away can you give me £500 and I'm just going to keep it in my drawer? You can't use it in your business as cash flow. I'm just going to keep it in my drawer for you for 3 months and then give it back to you. And it might actually be a little bit damaged by the time I give it back to you and a bit tatty. How would you feel about that? And always the face is always like, whoa, I hadn't even thought about that. They just think you might have the opportunities, but it's very unlikely that someone would get an opportunity to sell their work if there's no information and no story and no narrative.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking through at the moment, I've got 3 offices in all around the Lloyd's of London building who've got my artwork in their underwriting rooms or visitors' places. As you say, it does them a favour. They think they're showing work of someone who's associated with the city, but actually what they don't consider is the fact that how much it's cost you not only to get it there, produce the artwork, hang it. As far as they're concerned, they're doing you a favour, and we might actually sell a piece or two for you, but they don't actually work very hard at it. And it's, what can you say?
Have you ever sold any off the wall there?
Yes, I have, but it's slow. It is what I would say, and unless you've got a real association with that company, um, they don't put any effort into the thing anyway. So after a while, it just becomes a painting on the wall, doesn't it?
Decoration, as Vincent just said, and
Yeah.
that's one of the challenges that we have a lot when people, because people are always, you can imagine, people are always contacting us saying, oh, you've got a huge staple of artists, I'll give you an opportunity for them to exhibit their work. And I say, oh, that's lovely, what are you going to do for them? And they say, oh, I'm just going to let you put it on the wall. I'm like, no, that's just decoration, so we'll charge you rental. Oh, I wasn't thinking of paying for it. Okay, so what are you going to do for us that will actually give the artist an opportunity to sell? And we only now work with people who are going to actively provide our artists with the opportunity of selling. We don't say to them, you have to guarantee a sale, but you have to facilitate an opportunity for them to sell. If they're going to invest, 10 pieces of work, could be £2,000 of commodity. And you and I are both ex-city, so return on investment, I've done my calculation, this is not a good return on investment unless you are going to give me an opportunity to sell it.
I think the fairest I've had it was because I still go up to the city and see a lot of the people in Lloyd's. They had a solicitor who said, I like all the guys in the art group there. I will provide a private view. I'll put all the hanging on the wall. He said, because I've looked at the cost of putting a hanging system in and hiring someone for me to rent the paintings out to. And he said, it works out to at least 7,000 a year for me to do that from them. He said, so I might as well pay you guys and do a private view, invite all my clients up. It works for me. It might work for you.
Exactly. And we do that. So we work with the Curlew and the Smallholding, Will Devlin's restaurants. And he provides once a quarter with the opportunity for us to host a private view. And at the moment, we're doing that in a very COVID secure way. And he provides the food and the drink, and, and we provide, so normally Pure at the moment are providing the clients, because obviously we have to manage it very carefully. But in normal times, it's his client base is seeing it as well. And we put price labels on the work, and they're all QR coded. So we do get regular sales by just putting in that extra effort from our perspective, and him investing in us as well, and providing lovely experiences for our collectors. And if anyone out there wants us to do that, we're very happy. But other than that, the answer's no. Unless you want to pay a rental, and then I'm happy for you to pay my staff and my artists to rent the work. But it has to be, we don't. It's an experience, and artists are selling emotion, and not all of our artists are doing it for commercial gain. They're doing it, because it's a vocation, or they're on a journey. And there's lots of different reasons why artists make artwork. It isn't always for commercial reasons, but generally there is a cost associated with it, whether it's for a vocation or whether it's for commercial reasons, and that has to be taken into account. And it's respect, isn't it? It's respect. I think
we get ourselves a bit hung up in the city because occasionally these guys have their own back on you in a way, because you sort of say to them, or they ask you, will you hang out your work on our office walls? But then they say, we'd like you to do that because we actually bunged your group £5,000 worth of advertising last year. Wouldn't you like to hang your artwork in our office as well? So they've got you, really, haven't they?
if they're doing something reciprocal, then that works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does work. If there's a reciprocal respect.
Unfortunately, it's not in my pocket, though, Lesley. That's
no. Well, very often isn't that how the artwork world rolls generally. That it's not. It's run not particularly on cash, but on kind.
That's true. Yeah.
A lot of it, we were talking just before we came on air about volunteers and how lots of people volunteer in the art world. There's a lot of volunteering goes on, and a lot of people giving their time for nothing. And And I think the art world, you know, really does rely heavily on people, goodwill of the people who invest. So especially things like the societies. So, you know, I was going to go on to talk about, why did you choose to join the Society of Graphic Fine Art? And then maybe you can talk to us about it.
I thought you were going to say, how did you end up as president? Which there was no one else to do it.
Because you're very, very good and you have all the skills required.
Oh, you're saying all the right things. Anyway, I tell you how I ended up with the SGFA. I love sketching. It's one of the things really gets me going, if you like, you know, especially when I'm traveling. I love to take a travel book with me, and you know, obviously you keep your materials down as small as you can, you know. And I joined a group called Drawing London in obviously in London, but they were a group of people who've been on the Royal Drawing School's art courses, so we all had something in common. We all love the urban sketching thing, so we meet once a month. And one of the ladies there have been in the SGFA for a long time, Shelby Dorburn. She's probably about 92 now, so a bit past the. Unfortunately, she's not in the art society anymore. But she said to me, "Les, why don't you go and join the SGFA? I think you'll love them because you love your drawing, and I think the thing that you'll find with the art society is." It's not just straight drawing, you know, you can use any medium you like, but obviously at the background of it, it's got to be drawing. And I thought, you know, I've not really been drawing long enough. And when I look at people like Louisa and Felicity and Vincent and think, I feel a bit of a fraud, to be honest with you, because they all know how to paint and draw. Whereas me, I worked all my life in the city, and Johnny come lately, you know, here I go. I've just found out I like drawing, and anyway, I went along and I got in, which was as much of a surprise to me as it was to them, I think. But why did I draw it? Because it was drawing, which is what I loved, and I just thought my style of work just wouldn't work with it, you know, any of the others like the Maritime Group, you know. By the way, the Maritime Group, yeah. They have hardly any new members, and I'm thinking to myself, how do you keep a society refreshed? And anyway, about the Maritime Art Group.
Don't worry about them. Worry about the SGFA. That's where you need to be worried.
The thing about us this year is that I was really worried that because we had to shut down our mall gallery show this year, we finally got back to the mall galleries. Hello, you've gone. You still?
I'm still here. Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
Still here.
And I was really quite worried that we would keep people going during this time of COVID. Now I've forgotten what I was going to say. But yes, I know what I was going to say. But as Vincent knows, we had nearly 23 people apply for the society this year, and all of them have got to enter the open exhibitions and be accepted at least twice. So I've just read Louisa's comment.
I think that's similar for most artists, that they're always shocked and surprised that people actually think that they're good at what they do. Louisa, as you, is an extremely talented artist. I love that. I love that community. So the society, despite COVID, you're saying is thriving, and you're still getting lots of applications despite not being able to run the open exhibition.
Well, when you think that there's only about 130 artists, full stop, and quite about 20 of those are past honorees who are probably past it as well. To have 22 new applicants in 1 year is quite a lot.
That isn't great. That's looking at like 20%, isn't it?
Yeah, which is probably too many. But if they're good quality, we'll take them.
And have you kind of, like you're saying, because they normally would have to do 2 opens, have you changed that slightly?
No, that's still the fundamental. They've still got to have got through the selection process twice already, and then you've got to come, well, we would have done, come to a meeting with all your artwork, your preparation work. As I say, that's the only thing that's not happened this year, and we've had to do it digitally, which, as I said before, not ideal. But
and Louise is saying you're getting younger members as well.
yeah, we're going to have our first A-level student this year, which is fantastic.
That's exciting.
Yeah, our mum's been pushing her to come along, but we absolutely love her portraiture. She's fantastic.
Well, how exciting to find someone at that point, you know. That's like gold, isn't it? To get someone so early on. Wow.
Yeah, so we're really looking forward to that. And I would say over the last 2 years, we've got a lot younger members. And it's what you need to do to refresh the society. It's not only the running of the society, but you want the artwork to look fresh and modern. You want a complete... Do you
think that's because you've moved back to the Mount?
I think it's been happening gradually over the last little while. But yeah, I think that the more has certainly helped. It's given us more exposure to what's going on. And I'm trying to read what
Vincent's saying. It's works having the criteria because you get to know the artist and the consistency, which is important. Yeah. I think.
Yeah, I mean, in the past we've had sort of 25 people apply, but when you actually look at their work, you initially get rid of all the people who just paint their cats and dogs, and you think, let's get on to the serious stuff. So it was quite hard this year because, as I say, all of them are qualified through selection in the past, which means they've got something going for them that you're going to like them. So it's made it much harder, but much more rewarding. You're looking at people who are doing some interesting stuff.
So what key advice would you give to people who are thinking of joining the society?
Give it a go. Have a try. I mean, I think the step up from being at what I will call a club level artist to trying to get into a national society can be quite a leap. And I think you've got to have a lot of confidence in yourself. I mean, I think artists go through various stages in their career. I think one of the hardest is when you first put pen to paper, showing your family what you've been doing. That's hard. The next step is putting something on the wall, you know, for people to buy. I mean, I know when I'm running open studios, you know, you get lots of people who come in and say, well, yeah, I paint it myself. I said, well, do you join a club? Are you putting things on the wall to sell? Oh, no, I wouldn't do that, you know. So every people has another, it's a confidence thing to get going with it.
Confidence in self, isn't it? Confidence in self is so critical.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's got to be a certain amount of talent going on there. But if you, given that you've got the talent and you want to expand and you want to get on with it, I think, you know, just go for it and just keep exploring. Okay, they might knock you back, but keep trying is all I would say. Keep
on keeping on. That's the advice of the octogenarians. Keep on keeping on, because you'll get
absolutely.
there. You'll take action. Eventually, you will get there. As Vincent's just said as well, which is very valid, is go and see the work in the shows, because once you see what you're going to be compared with, it gives you an idea of whether they're your tribe, whether you're pointing your arrow in the right direction. Because not everybody is right for everywhere, are they?
Absolutely not. No. I think, you know, it's wrong to stop trying, and it's the same with the way you look at your artwork. Is keep trying, keep expanding, keep looking at different things. I remember the one of the first trips I went on with the Royal Drawing School, which was painting locations all the way along the Thames. And this is you can do it obviously with any river if you like, but different places on the Thames really brought up lots of different visitors. And I sat there opposite Greenwich one day with a guy who had no more than a pair of scissors and lots of newspapers and magazines. And I wasn't drawing myself. I was just looking at him, and here he is, he's cutting away and he's creating these collages. It was fantastic, and I couldn't believe how good he was. And so I had that experience. The next time I went along, I went with this guy who actually stood on the river. It was the most brilliant sunny day. And yet he got these charcoals out and had a completely black sky. And I stupidly said to him, doesn't look they're a representation of what's going on today. And he went, mind your own business. So you get all sorts, can't you, really? There you go.
Yes, but it's always good to have a dialogue with people, isn't it? It's always good to have that chat. I'm just seeing in the sidebar, Louisa, I find this shocking. Les, you know, it's a shocking situation. Louisa was rejected with her first application to the SGFA. There you are. If that is encouragement for anybody, if someone can reject Louisa from their first application, then no one has a reason not to apply, because
I'm amazed that she got rejected. Obviously, I wasn't on the council at the time.
Who was president when you joined? Who was president when you joined the SGFA? Do you remember?
Roger Lewis, I think, who, I'm trying to think what to say about Roger. Roger ran the society very, very well. I mean, the things that you come from the city, and you probably, one of the golden rules I've found on the council is when I first joined was they could talk a lot, and they would start meetings at 10:30, and by the time 4 o'clock came round in the afternoon, one of the other council members said to me, Les, I've never seen so many drawings and scribbles in a book. It was fantastic. I said, I've got 8 pages of doodles. It's incredible. It was the most boring, wasted Saturday that I've ever had. And I don't know if you're the same as me, but
that wouldn't be tolerated in my meetings. We'd be done. What's the action points? Right, we're over.
Yeah, I was told by a client, don't speak for more than 15 minutes, Les, because I'm gone. I'm out.
Attention span is generally 2 minutes, isn't it? So I remember I had a boss when I worked at Coca-Cola, and they were lovers of long meetings there. And he was ex-army, and he would literally, he'd be looking at his watch, he'd be like, okay, what's the action point? Write it down. Right, we're done. And he'd just get up and walk out. And I was like, okay, that is such a good idea. Just need to know what the action point is, and I'm done here. And I mean, I love talking. Everyone knows that, and I love listening to people's stories. So I'm a little bit more easy on the listening to people thing, but we were talking, as you said, prior to coming on air, about running these Zoom meetings, and I'm a bit more disciplined on, keep your mics closed off until it's your turn, kind of thing.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to what Louisa was saying about being rejected on her first go, that she still was confident enough to come back again. I mean, I don't know quite what was said to her, but, why she should want to come back, because I've had friends of mine who've applied, and it took them the meetings with me, over a cup of coffee to actually speak to me nicely after they were rejected. And I thought, blow. It's a very tough thing being rejected. So whoever had given the rejection slip was obviously encouraging enough to actually say, please come back and have another go.
I don't know who the president was because we've had, to my knowledge, we've had Will Taylor and we've had Jackie Devereaux. I don't know which one of those was.
Joe Hall. It would have been, I think it would have been Joe Hall running it, because Will only did it for 6 months.
He didn't do it for very long, did he? No. Yes, well, I think that's the advice, isn't it? It's just have another go. Always have another go. Yes, we're very glad. You were so she was encouraged by Vincent and Felicity to have another go. There you go.
Good. That's what. Yeah.
So we've got some questions down in the question box. Oh, I love the questions. Let's see what we've got. So, and this was one of my questions actually. So I'm glad that Louise has asked this. What are your hopes for the future of the SGFA under your presidency?
Oh my God.
I've got that on my list of questions. What's your hopes for the future?
I think they're the same as my own, really, in my own desires, in that I think looking back in the history of the SGFA, it had a very prestigious time, and they had people like John Piper, Dame Laura Knight, Frank Branwyn, and it got itself into a bit in the doldrums, I would say, in the 80s and 90s, and probably up to about 2000. And I think the best thing I've done for the society so far is to get us back into the more galleries, because I think that's a big stepping stone for us. And secondly, we need to get our finances well enough organised so that we can have not just 4 days or 5 days there, so that we can maybe have a longer period of time there and or take over the whole gallery site, not just the main gallery. So in a way, it's the profile of the society to get it back up to where it was. And part of that is that it used to belong to the Federation of British Artists, which means you have automatic access to the more galleries, which I don't know if my politicking is good enough to get us back into there, but, you know, you'd be up there with it, with the biggest of the, you know, the current royal societies. If we could do that over the presidency, I think that would give us such big standing, you know, and we wouldn't just go from 22 people trying to apply. You'd probably go to about 40 or 50 at least. So that's really where I'd like us to go. I mean, in the short term, I just really like to get out of COVID and have a really great more gallery show next year. I think one of the other things that I like doing are the smaller regional shows, and you know, Louisa and Felicity and Vincent have all helped me getting around. We've been to Keavy's House Gallery. We were at Wells Cathedral was it 2 years ago, which was absolutely fantastic. Pure Arts, you should go down there as well. Because we
don't do so many exhibitions as such now. We're much more about the education, the learning, and the growth of the artists. So kind of supportive. We provide more of a supportive role to societies than we do big exhibitions. I don't see our future as doing big exhibitions, but we are going to do a collaborative exhibition with the SGFA in April next year, aren't we? Hopefully, yeah. Oh, that hurt. I've taken the bandage off and stupidly crossed my fingers. That was silly. Oh, don't do that again, Lesley. Yeah, because when I'm sitting here, if I have the bandage on, it really pushes on the bruising. Don't do that again, Lesley. That was very silly and it hurt. Yes, so I'm really looking forward to that in April next year, doing that with you. I really hope that happens. And that's a really cool aspiration to get to really raise the profile of the SGFA. And so it's just you now, getting your politics in line to get back with the FDA.
Well, it's a big ask to do it, but I think one of the other things that I'd like for the society is to get in with some more galleries, you know, commercial galleries like Keavy's House around the country, because I suppose my own aspiration is to be shown commercially around the country. You know, we've got some very good artists within our ranks now who are represented by various galleries. And I just like it. If the SGFA can get into some of these, it will give them a platform to show their work elsewhere around the country. And, you know, if they grow, we grow. So that's what I'd like for them, really.
Yeah, that's interesting because encouragement is so important. And Fran's next question is kind of about encouragement. So you mentioned your mother painted in oils. Did she encourage you to draw in your childhood, or is your artistic career much more recent?
My art teacher said when I was 16, Les, it's not about filling the boxes in with colour. So that was the end of my painting at school. And no, I think my mother liked going away painting because she got her away from my father. But no, that was a joke. But my father always thought that she was going away with her boyfriend, you know. So anyway,
with her other family.
yeah. No, I think my inspiration to do it was her really, and just to get under. Well, I just found I loved it, and I mean, I thought when I was going to retire that I'd be playing golf. I wouldn't be, you know, be an artist. But I think what I found is you can paint on your own. You can go anywhere, and it is to me having a sketchbook and going on travels in Italy and France. What more could be better? You know, you can sit in a cafe with your sketchbook open and have a beer or a glass of wine, and
you can do it alone, but it's not a lonely profession, is it? Really, people say it's isolating, but actually, as you say, if you go out, I know Vincent would validate this, that, you know, whenever he goes out sketching, everyone comes up and talks to him. It's like having a dog or a baby in a pram. People come up and chat to you.
Well, I think everyone's got little stories, but I'll just give you two very quick ones. I sing in a choir as well, so we were singing in St. Peter's in Rome. I'm trying to impress you now, okay?
You must be good singing.
I gone out. We had the afternoon off, so I gone out and I was on one of the bridges in Rome, looking up to St. Peter's, and I was on the bridge edge, and this guy kept shoving this map in my face and started to ask me where was so and so, and I go, look, I'm actually not a local, and I don't live here, and I'm trying to do some drawing. Oh, are you? Oh, okay. And it was completely beyond him that I was actually trying to do something. The other little story I was going to share with you was sitting in Delft in Holland at a bar, and the waitress came up and said, "Can I get you another beer?" And she said, "Do you mind the boys looking at you?" And as I turned round, there were 20 teenagers all standing behind me. I hadn't realised. I was so concentrating. I said, "Oh, they're all right." They English, but you know, which was perfect, really.
Yeah. And did they ask you any questions? They didn't speak any English, did you say?
No, I had my beer goggles on anyway, so
don't ask him any questions. So you like to travel?
I do.
So Carol,
Yeah,
who I mentioned to you just before we came on air as someone I thought would be perfect for the Society of Graphic Fine Art, is actually saying, when is the time to submit to the Society?
well, unfortunately, you've just missed this year, but October next year, we reckon, because we've had to shuffle everything around, as you might imagine. Normally, we did it in, I'm saying April or May, but like our open exhibition, we've had to move everything around. So I think we're going to try for October next year, when hopefully people might be willing to travel and come up to town again and bring their artwork with them. I mean, what I would say to Carol is do loads of sketching, do lots of preparatory work. And it's not just finished work we like to see. I mean, but obviously that's the stuff that goes into the exhibitions. But we like to see what you like to do, what things you're good at. And I don't know if you find this yourself, but quite honestly, sometimes you've only got to open someone's sketchbook and straight away you know they've got it or they haven't got it.
It's the art world X factor, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you know, once you've been in the environment for as many years as you and I have, that you pretty much instinctively know as soon as you look at something if it's got potential or if it hasn't. Even, you know, in its rawest form, you can see that something amazing is going to come out of it. And so Vincent's saying Carol can join me on one of our drawing days. There you are, Carol. You've got an invite to an SGFA drawing day.
Everyone's got an invite, because I think that's one of the key things, as you say, about the art world, is get in there and see what other people are doing. And we love people from the outside to come and join with us, you know, because you want to get away from this thing about it being difficult to paint with professional artists. You know, come and see what it's like, you know, come and see what they're up to. Well, you know, ask them, how do you do that? Why did you do that? Or why did you choose that view? Why didn't you choose that view? It's just getting to meet people, isn't it? And finding out what they're like and what, you know, what they produce.
I think it is about taking action and getting involved.
I notice Edith says, how do you find out? Well, our website should update itself. Don't look at my website because it's not very updated. But
I told you off, didn't I?
Yeah. I have a son who is a web designer and IT director, and he, all the time he's telling me, "Don't do that, do that," you know. So I get so paranoid about if I touch things, you know, and screw it up. Anyway.
So the drawing days will all be on the SGFA website, and if people want to see the SGFA website and they're on here, you can see there's a tab at the bottom here that says SGFA website. Otherwise, it's sgfa.org.uk for anyone who's listening. And I can share the screen actually very quickly, and we can have a look at. And I think it has got drawing days on. Yeah, it actually opened on drawing days. Look at that. So I'm going to focus the screen on that just for a second. And so these are the details of the drawing days. And it's sad because, yeah, you were about to do one at the Victoria and Albert Museum, but now that's in January. It's saying on there.
Ish.
Yeah. Oh, no, that was in 2019. Now in 2020, now not happening.
I mean, I think what we tend to do for people who are interested is we stay inside buildings during the winter time, the V&A or the British Museum, and obviously outside. They tend to be in London. We have been to the Horniman Museum, which is in South London, so it's not very far apart, is it? But
the Horniman, though, I remember the Horniman from as a child. We used to be, because I grew up in Southeast London, and we used to be taken to the Horniman all the time to draw. They had the most amazing cases of all tribal things, I seem to remember. Lots of really interesting artifacts at the Horniman Museum. Lots of things to draw. We would be sat down in front of a case and left there for hours, and then eventually someone would come and give us a packed lunch to keep us going. That's a distinct childhood.
We tend to go all over the place, yeah.
Yeah, I love the Horniman. And as we saw on your drawing day, so presumably your website, people will be updating your website with more drawing days once things get a little bit easier on the COVID.
Well, when people want to travel, I think is the answer at the moment. I don't think anyone wants to travel.
You've booked the Mall, have you, for October next year? Is that kind of tentatively?
No, we have fixed dates in July.
Right.
The 5th to the 11th of July. And for all our members who are on the line, you know, it will be in the bulletin. So our bulletin is on the website as well, so you can see what all the members are up to. And some of them are so active, Lesley, it's just unbelievable. The amount of shows they put on, incredible.
So it's well worth joining the SGFA because the community is very active. That's what I've discovered.
Yeah, it is. Some of our members are over in Gibraltar over the year end. Quite why we're going to Gibraltar, I don't know, but someone's got some connections over there. I think that's Philippa Beale. But yeah, so there's lots of things going on.
Yeah, it's a very active society, and that's great because artists need community.
They do. I mean, your society, well, your group tends to head in a different direction, but ours is really all about exhibiting and the drawing days, getting to know each other, and I think is providing people a platform to show their art off.
And it's so needed and invaluable. So I really hope that you can get back to what you do very, very quickly, because it's all well and good, these online exhibitions, but they're not the experience that people really truly want, neither the artist or the visitor. So it's lovely that we can do things on broadcast and people can get to know us, and that's a real bonus. That's such a wonderful opportunity that people can get to know us properly, and it doesn't seem like it's all, the art world is closed, and I love that aspect of it. But I do really miss the actual going and seeing an exhibition. Yeah,
Agreed, totally.
seeing the art up close. Can't wait for that to come back. Thank you so much, Les. That has been absolutely wonderful. And I could carry on talking to you for hours, but we all do need to eat. And maybe go and get a drink. So thank you so much. You've been so generous in your sharing and to encourage people to join the SGFA and get involved with the drawing days. It's been absolutely brilliant. It's the camaraderie. Yes, absolutely, Vincent. I think that's the same with Pure. I think it's the camaraderie and what we provide with the positivity. Hopefully is what attracts people to both the groups, and working together. And we all love working together. It's great. So next week I am speaking to Geeta Joshi, who has just written a wonderful book on how to sell your art. So that's going to be exciting. And then the week after that, I've got Sue Jelly, who was the president of the Society of Women Artists, and she's a character, and we'll be really thrilled to have a chat to her. And then lots of other people coming along. So put Tuesdays in your diary at 1 o'clock, and I'll be here for up until Christmas. I'll keep going up until Christmas, and then I'll need another break. And any artists watching, put the 14th of November in your diary, because that's when the next Art 360 applications open, and that's exciting as well. So people can get back on there. Apparently we're addictive, so don't worry, we're coming back. Yeah, so lovely. Thank you so much, Les. Thank you everyone who's been here live asking the questions. It's been great. I'm really glad to be back on the horse, as it were, back doing the broadcast. I really love them and I miss them, and I'll see you all next Tuesday. And I can't wait to come and see the next Mal Galleries SGFA show. Pleased that it's next year. Hoping. Thanks, Les, and thanks everyone. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you all next week. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.